A former Chicago Bear coach, Lovie Smith, is set to be the head coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's going to bring on a fantastic staff that I think can really, really compete in that division. And not only that, there was a report yesterday that I was reading that he's going to want to, from Pro Football Talk, surprisingly, that he's going to want to get rid of Darrelle Revis, which seems incredibly odd to me. Why would he ever want to give up a number one corner?
There's no way that Lovie Smith has already said that.
No.
This conjecture is ridiculous. So to say that he'd want to get rid of Darrelle
anybody at this point.
Yeah, or anybody, exactly, is
he just took the job.
Pure conjecture. And so too are his assistants. I mean, he said that he's going to bring Jeff Tedford in.
Who coached Aaron Rodgers at Cal.
And he said that he's going to bring in, the rumor was Leslie Frazier initially to be his DC, and
or
then
Rod
it turned into
Marinelli.
Rob Marinelli, because they weren't sure if the Cowboys were going to allow him to speak to Marinelli. But now, in fact, that he's able to, it sounds like he's going to bring in Marinelli to be his coach.
And of course, the two coach together with the Bears as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, all the pieces, I mean, the pieces are there if you believe in Mike Glennon, which I do, and a lot of people there do. And so they seem pretty set up.
He's Alex Smith 2.0.
No, I don't think he is.
No, he's got a much bigger arm.
He's got
Really?
a much bigger arm.
Yeah.
I was talking statistically.
But he's also not as mobile as Smith, but he's got a much bigger arm. The thing is that it's a tough division. I mean, it's Carolina, New Orleans, and the resurgent, all of a sudden, Atlanta Falcons, because they're keeping their coach.
Lovie Smith, 81 and 63.
I thought you were going to say he's 81.
84 and 66.
He looks great.
84 and 66 with the playoffs.
That's counting the playoffs, yeah. So, he can coach. I mean, those are just, considering, could we retread? I'm glad we're finally retreading a black guy.
Yeah, no, exactly. What was nice is that everybody's like, Lovie Smith, that they're bringing him in for these interviews because they have to bring someone in for an interview. Everybody still wanted Lovie Smith. Yeah. Apparently, Detroit was really upset that he got signed, and that he is the retread, that he's the Bill Cowher that everybo's after is kind of cool.
Yeah, no, it's good. It shows some and maybe he's not just a retread. First of all, he had some success. He went to a Super Bowl, and I like him. I like his name.
But I don't see the Redskins actually signing Perry Fuel.
No, I don't
even
think so.
though they're interviewing him.
I don't. So I like this hiring. I think it makes a lot of sense. And also, but is Darrelle Revis still the number one corner? And he gets hurt. And for a guy who you don't think
overall in the league, number 2.
We don't know.
Number 2.
Says who?
Says me.
Okay, but I don't think
Richard Sherman is a clear-cut number 1. Sorry, Mike.
I
saw that whole sequence.
I don't think we saw it this year that Revis is still a number 1 corner.
When he came back, when he was totally healthy, he was
very good.
Did not.
He's not a clear.
No,
it looked like he didn't lose a step.
It's not as clear as Sherman is number 1.
And also, if you see a guy who's been significantly hurt in the NFL at his age, 2 of the last 3 years or 2 of the last 2 years, is that a guy you want $16 million going to? I would say probably not when you have a lot of holes. So if you can turn that into something, if you can trade him and get something for him, there's
I would say
there.
that you could go after Brandon Browner, but he's probably going to be suspended because he's hitting free agency. So that obviously would not be a good idea. 4-year deal, $5 million per, as you said, 84 and 66, counting the playoffs.
4-year, 5 a year. Okay.
1 Super Bowl, 3 NFC North titles, the AP NFL Coach of the Year.
1 Super Bowl appearance.
1 Super Bowl appearance, excuse me, and that was heartbreaking for some people. And he got his start.
Grossman.
Can you believe that? That was going to be my next point. He went to a Super Bowl with Rex Grossman.
Right.
That speaks volumes to the kind of coach he is.
He really had a quarterback. I mean, that's the other thing with Lovie Smith is that the kind of coach that he is. Yeah, I mean, Kyle Orton. He had a taste of Jay Cutler. He had a little bit of
Bob
Avellini and Vince Evans. So
Sid Luckman.
Can't believe you said Vince Evans after Bob Avellini.
Yeah, that was weird. You didn't see that coming. But no, truthfully, I think it's a great hire, and that he has Mike Glennon, who I think is a good quarterback, is going to, I think, make a big difference for them.
Yeah, who should have hired him? Cleveland.
Cleveland should have hired him, yeah. And because he can win without a quarterback.
He can win without a quarterback, that's right.
But their defense is fantastic.
This
Levante David is
a great player.
Oh my God! You just sounded like my grandfather. This Levante
No, but I'm serious.
David.
I'd never heard of him until like week 4 of this season.
He's just making it every week after week. He just sort of makes plays.
And he didn't make the Pro Bowl.
Right.
So the defense is good, and like we don't know if Mike Glennon is an answer yet, but you don't have to. You're committed to trying with him. Like you don't need to go get a quarterback. You're going to see, and there's every possibility that he's going to be pretty good.
3 great running backs who are all hurt and you've never heard of between.
Ready for this?
And how did Cleveland mismanage Bobby Rainey?
Yeah.
I don't know. I believe we were talking about Greg Schiano, and then we'll wrap up this clip. Basically, you were saying that you think they retained him a few weeks ago.
I thought they were going to keep him.
So you were a little surprised when they got rid of him.
No, I mean,
you weren't?
No, I wasn't surprised. I said I thought that they were going to keep him, but that nobody would have been surprised to hear Greg Schiano was fired.
I expected
Michael,
it. I was hoping.
that's the reason that you got to follow the Ben Mankiewicz philosophy, which is don't panic, fire the coach in the middle of the season. Michael thought they'd keep him because they were 0-8, and then they kind of seemed to rally and they played much better, and they could have thought very logically, well, I guess we're headed in the right direction now. We got to keep him. Instead, they had a guy who I think was a disaster as a head coach. And yes, they played better in the second half, but they were smart to still say, we're good. Look.
Yeah, my argument for it was that, listen, maybe it was that Josh Freeman was the problem. He's been a problem in Minnesota, too. Apparently, we're learning now. He showed up late for meetings. The players weren't interested in playing with him there. So I thought that, okay, maybe this was all about Josh Freeman, not so much about Greg Schiano. I know very little about the inner workings of the Buccaneers, but so
you could ask me.
But to say that, were you surprised? No, I don't think anyone in football was surprised that Greg Schiano was fired. I would have still put him in my most likely to be fired list.
What I read about Josh Freeman was that they were surprised that he was starting. It wasn't that they didn't have his back. It's that they were just a little surprised.
Yeah. No, but then they got upset with him because he wasn't. Well, I don't want to quote anything that I read inaccurately, but basically that he didn't seem like he was part of the team. Like he showed up late. He didn't. He wasn't partaking in optional things in the team practices. So.
I got you.
I think that he just didn't inspire a lot of confidence.
Let me make a slightly clearer point about why you fire people midway through. Because you also open yourself up to reading all off season about being second guessed. And if your second coach doesn't work out, like when for UCLA with Ben Howland, forever they're going to read about, they fired Howland after he won the Pac-12 championship. Like if you made that decision to fire him in January, fire him in January.
Yeah.
Let the interim coach win and I would have for the Buccaneers too. Now if
start your search.
It turns out Lovie Smith, I think Lovie Smith will work out, but if whoever they hire doesn't work out, you're like, well, you know what? If they just stuck with Schiano, they were 4-4 in the second half. They played much better. Like when you're 0-8, fire him, and you never have to answer those questions.